I live in a college dorm on an all-female floor. I usually wear a bra if leaving the dorm building, but I'm not going to put on a bra under my shirt just to walk down the hall to the bathroom. A few days ago, I left my room and walked 10 yards down the hall to the water fountain, refilled my water bottle, and went back to my room. I was wearing a white tank top and no bra. The tank top was fitted but not see-through, so you could only see the outline of my nips. There was a small group of people hanging out in the hall outside a few of the rooms, but I didn't think much of it, until around half an hour later, when I got a knock on the door from one of the girls I'd seen in the hall. She said something to the effect of, "Hey, so sorry to ask you this, but if you go out into the hall again, could you put a bra on? My boyfriend's out there and he was staring a little, so." I'm super non-confrontational, so I was like, "Yeah, sure, sorry about that," and for the rest of that night, anytime I left my room I put a bra or sweater on. And that was the end of it. Or so I thought. The next day, my roommate told me she'd overheard the girl telling a few of her friends about the incident while in the bathroom. She said the girl was making it sound like I'd been purposely trying to seduce her boyfriend, wearing basically nothing, taking my time at the water fountain, posing to push out my tits, the whole works. When she left the bathroom, my roommate said the girl was actually acting it out at the water fountain, pretending to be me. That night, I passed the girl and some of her friends on my way to go brush my teeth. I wasn't wearing a bra, I was already in pajamas. The girl looked pointedly down at my chest and all of them started giggling. But the last straw was when the entire dorm got an email from the RA yesterday, saying she'd gotten some anonymous complaints about people dressing inappropriately in the hallways and asking that we all just make sure we're keeping things covered up. So here's where I got my petty little revenge. I knew that the girl's boyfriend doesn't go to college here. The girl and I were in the same orientation group and chatted a bit back then. I also knew that due to the pandemic, we aren't allowed to have non-student/family guests in the dorms this year. So I used the same anonymous complaint form to issue a complaint about people bringing their off-campus boyfriends into our dorm and them not wearing a mask. Masks are mandatory in the hallways, although not frequently enforced. This morning, the RA emailed again saying that due to anonymous complaints, they'd be enforcing the no off-campus guests rule by checking IDs of unfamiliar guests to make sure they were students from then on. Really, this girl should be thanking me. If she was concerned about her boyfriend seeing the vague outline of my tits in the dorm hallways, she no longer needs to worry. This conversation popped up at the wake of my grandmother's funeral. She was holding her plate of food and sat down next to my aunt and me in a couch. Very smug-looking and kept smirking at people as if she's any better than them. Turned out she had it in her head somehow that she'd be moving to another country with me and my partner and our kids. Because grandma had passed away, so she'd have no responsibility like that, and she's retired. So she had gone around telling people how she'd be living a ravishing, retired lifestyle in a rich Scandinavic country for free without having to raise any damn finger. She asked me loudly, "So when does my flight leave?" I asked what the hell did she mean by that, and she said loudly so everyone could hear, "You know, our flight back to your husband's country so I can live luxuriously like you promised me?" I promised her fuck all other than never gonna talk to her again after I flew back. So me being me and my incapability to sugarcoat anything, I blatantly told her that it'd never happen because I'm not stupid enough to bring her dangerous ass around my children. The face crack of the century, let me tell you. My aunt and the rest of the room cackled. She then thought she heard it wrong, so I repeated again. "You're not moving in with me, and you can erase that idea from your brain because you're a dangerous, lazy, greedy person and I am not about to introduce that type of energy to my children." She then threw tantrums, yelling and shouting about how she's entitled to move in with me and be taken care of by the family. I argued back that unless she would be willing to find a place to stay over there herself, find a job, learn a new language, and actually work again, then she would not survive because I have kids to take care of and I'm not about to be taking my energy and time off them to cater to her lazy ass. She then went silent on me and refused to talk to me for the rest of the evening. Fine by me. Fine by everyone else. They just had a good time giggling at how delusional she was. Greetings all. There is a new rule for all submissions. Characters in a story must not be given initials or acronyms as names. Please assign them a fake first name, like Fred or Jason, or use their title as their name, like entitled idiot or ex-girlfriend. Per rule number 4, no personal info, do not give your characters' last names, real or fake. Use of initials makes stories much harder to follow, as the reader has to keep constantly referencing back to the top of the story to figure out who people are. Reading that EG and DI went to meet RM is much harder to follow than reading that ex-girlfriend and dumb idiot went to meet roommate. So for naming characters. AD, RM, EI equals bad, Rule 11 violation, no acronyms. Alpha dog, roommate, entitled idiot equals good. Dave, Mark, Phil equals good. Dave Jones, Mark Phillips, Phil Jackson equals bad, Rule 4 violation, no personal info, real or fake. Please report stories that use initials for character names. A report reason has been added for this, ***. Stories removed for this reason will be reinstated as soon as they are edited to use either fake first names or titles for character names. Post authors, if your post is removed for this reason, please edit it and send a mod mail to let us know. Please feel free to ask any questions or comments in this thread. And remember that per rule number 1, all meta threads must always be approved by mods before posting. Thanks. TLDR, don't mess with the IT guy. I was discussing this sub with a good friend, and he said, boy, have I got a story that'll fit. It wasn't his story, but his brother's, and I sat with him and got the details. Buckle up, it's a good one, and a long one. Let's call him Bob. Bob has been fiddling with computers since he was a kid, and knows them pretty well. As with most IT people, he's moved from job to job. The employer he worked for was a service/distribution company, and there were 2 IT employees. The company was located in Ontario, Canada. About 3 years ago, Bob's employer decided to modernize their software. They had separate programs for dispatching, for inventory, for payroll and finances, and it was complicated moving information from one program to the other. They decided to get an ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning, program, and Bob recommended one that he knew inside out from a previous employer. For those of you who don't know, an ERP program handles everything. Purchase orders, sales, inventory, personnel, vendors, customers, all of it. You can run a report and find out which customer has bought the most part ABC in the last year. Which salesman has improved his numbers the most. Which vendor has the fastest delivery time. Which shipper packed the most orders. Everyone in the company used the ERP program, but it was very complicated, and they used the aspects of it that related to their position. For example, the receiver would accept a shipment, verify the quantity, confirm it was received, and the inventory stats would be available to the salespeople if they wanted to look up how many were on hand. The receiver didn't care what the price was, or who the vendor was, he just did his job. Bob was run ragged during the implementation process, but he managed to train most of the employees on their aspects, and after a few months, everything was running fairly smoothly. Bob still got tickets for tweaks in the operation of the software, and occasional hardware IT issues. Then the company decided to expand their footprint and was marketing into different time zones. That messed things up. Atlantic Canada is 90 minutes early, so if someone sent an email or an order at 8 a.m. their time, it would arrive at 6:30 a.m. Ontario time. Pacific Canada is 3 hours late, so an email sent at 3 p.m. Vancouver time would arrive at 6 p.m. This stretched out the day, so many staff came in early and worked late. Bob would arrive at 8 a.m. and there would be people that demanded his immediate assistance, and were annoyed that he didn't respond instantly, even though their request was submitted before his start time. Same with late in the day, his phone would ring at dinner time with people that wanted help right now. They decided to stagger his and his IT colleagues' shift times. Bob would start at 6 a.m. and work till 2:30, and his colleague would start at 10:30 a.m. and work till 7 p.m. Bob's colleague had kids and refused the shift change. The employer insisted. The colleague quit. That meant that Bob was the only person in the IT department. The employer said they would look to hire a new IT guy, but they had trouble finding one that knew the ERP system, and they were offering well under a market value salary. Bob asked for a raise and was denied. Then he wanted overtime, and the employer told him that as an IT specialist, he was exempt from overtime laws in Ontario. Bob looked it up, and the employer was correct. This went on for some time, and he knew lots of IT people socially. They told him what the company was offering, and Bob knew that they wouldn't find another tech. Things went downhill from there. Bob would get chewed out if he missed a call or an email, no matter what time it came in. He had to train new hires in the ERP system, as well as take care of the hardware. He asked repeatedly for better compensation, and was denied, so he planned to get a new job. Now here's the revenge. Bob had access to the entirety of the ERP program. When a user signed in, the time was logged, and even if they didn't sign out, after 15 minutes it would log them out anyway. Everyone in the company was on salary, and many of them came in early and stayed late. Ontario labor law states that even salaried workers are entitled to overtime after 44 hours a week, unless they were managers or supervisors. So Bob jumped into the program and ran a report for each employee that wasn't a manager. All the way back to when the ERP program was started. Then he reached out to an employment lawyer and got the okay to refer employees to him. Bob lined up another job, and after he left, every employee in the company got an email with an Excel sheet showing the hours they had put in past 44 hours a week. The subject line said you're legally entitled to overtime pay. In the body of the email was the lawyer's name. The shit hit the fan. Almost every employee authorized the lawyer to negotiate with the company on their behalf, and the company had to pay a ton of money. All the company had to do was pay Bob for the extra work he put in. Instead, they had to pay almost